But I've been waiting for this day, and we're here finally in Aurora, Colorado, to call the attention of the world, and unfortunately the world's already got its attention, to one of the most egregious betrayals that any leader in any nation has ever inflicted on its own people. What they've done to our country, what they're doing to our country. They're destroying, they are ruining our country. We are being led by stupid people. We cannot take it anymore. For the past 4 years, as the so-called border czar, the person in charge of our border, Kamala Harris, and you can't use the name Harris. You know, if you say Harris, nobody knows who the hell you're talking about. Think of it, Harris, nice name. It's like, so we use the name Kamala. She was last, right? She came in last, and now she's running. How about that? In all fairness, I'm not a fan of Sleepy Joe, but Sleepy Joe got 14 million votes. She got none. She never made it to the great state of Iowa. She quit. Out of 22 people, she quit. She had nothing going. And interestingly, when she came in, she was okay, pretty good. But then they heard her talking. They watched her brain in action. And when they saw the brain in action, they said, that's it. And here she is again. But Kamala has imported an army of illegal alien gang members and migrant criminals from the dungeons of the third world. They come from the dungeons, think of that, the dungeons of the third world, from prisons and jails, insane asylums, and mental institutions. And she has had them resettled beautifully into your community to prey upon innocent American citizens. That's what they're doing. And no place is it more evident than right here. Because in Aurora, multiple apartment complexes have been taken over by the savage Venezuela prison gang known as Tren de Aragua. Or is your law enforcement and law enforcement all over the world. They know them all over the world. They're a savage gang, one of the worst in the world. And they're getting bigger all the time because of our stupidity. They're known as TDA. TDA has killed 7 people today, sir. Last month, 6 men with armed rifles and many other men standing right outside waiting for them and handguns were caught on camera as they were forced into a situation, and they said they were forced. They weren't forced. They got their way into an apartment building. They threatened the tenants at gunpoint. These are people that never saw anything like this. These are people that never experienced criminals and crime. They burst into the building and they held tenants at gunpoint and at knife point. 10 minutes later, they opened fire on a 25-year-old man outside the building, fatally shooting him. Of the barbaric thugs who have been identified, at least 3 are illegal aliens who were in Border Patrol custody. They were in custody. By the way, 4 years ago, we had the safest border in the history of our country. Put up that sign, please. Put up my all-time favorite graph. Put up my all-time favorite. Get that put up. That is the most beautiful graph I've ever seen. It's the most beautiful piece of paper I've ever seen. I take it home every night and I sleep with it and I kiss it. Oh, I kiss it. Boo, boo. Because without that sucker, I wouldn't be here right now. So if you think about it, Mr. Pastor, great job you did, Pastor. If you think about it, illegal immigration saved my life. I'm the only one. Usually it's the opposite. It's usually the opposite. Thank you very much. But you see that arrow on the bottom? That's when I left. That's the day I left office. You had the lowest number of of people coming into our country and the history, recorded history of our country. And then look what happened, like a rocket ship. And they were rough, the ones that came in. We were very, very careful. We were remain in Mexico. We checked everybody out. People came in, but then they got rough because then they said, let's do open borders. Let's let the whole world. And as soon as they did that, jails were emptied, mental institutions were emptied. And I would have done the same thing if I were in charge of any of the many countries we're talking about. 3 of these thugs were in Border Patrol custody, but were released into the United States by Kamala. And my message, they were released, and they killed people, a lot of people. They were released. But my message today is very simple. No person who has inflicted the violence and terror that Kamala Harris has inflicted on this community can ever be allowed to become the President of the United States.